Hi there. I'd like to start off with talking a little bit about me and my story. So I was part of the high school graduating class of 2020, and I was privileged enough to get to come here at MSU in the fall of 2020, where I moved into the dorms and had no trouble making friends. In fact, some of those friends that I made in those very first few days are here today supporting me. I did, however, struggle to connect with my professors, and 6 feet was just too far for me to make friends within my major. So I struggled to engage with campus, partially because of the pandemic, but partially because I didn't really know how to. So the photo on the right is me at the beginning of college, and the photo here on the left is me at the end of my first semester. So what happened? And I'm sure some of you can kind of guess. I contracted COVID in November of 2020 with the rest of my dorm floor. But I was a little bit different. So I ended up going home after my quarantine during winter break and started to get really, really sick. I ended up going into the hospital, and they immediately admitted me, and they told me that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I knew that I was gonna be okay. I knew that I was gonna beat it, but I waited there for a week to have surgery. And I was 19 at the time, so that meant that I was completely alone. No visitors, no family. I was in isolation. When I left the hospital right around the holidays, I ended up FaceTiming my roommate while I was there and telling her, I'm not gonna come back. I'm gonna go do treatment and I'll be back when I'm done. But you need to find a new roommate. So I came home and I waited. And right around New Year's, my family and I found out that they were wrong. The pathology of my surgery came back. I had mono. And I couldn't process that. I didn't understand how I was that sick, but all I had was COVID and mono. 2 weeks later, I found myself back in classes here at MSU, and I was still really, really sick. And I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I didn't know how many times I could email my professor and say, I'm just not able to get out of bed today. I can't make it happen. I should have stepped back from college at that point in time, but I didn't realize how I could, and I didn't know how to justify that. So what changed? What brought me here before you today? Well, when I went home that summer after my first year, I told my parents, I'm not gonna go back. I don't see the point. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know my trajectory. I'm flunking out of my classes. I don't know how to advocate. I don't know how to engage. I just feel like somebody who's paying to use a facility. But they pushed me. My friends that I made in the dorms pushed me. They told me to come back. They told me to try again. They told me that I was an honors student in college, or in high school, and I was the top 10% of my graduating class. I was a head captain in marching band. I volunteered. There was no reason that I shouldn't be able to succeed in college, yet I wasn't. So when I came back that third semester, I got a job on campus. And it completely changed everything for me. For the first time, I felt like a member that was engaging in my community, not just somebody who was going through the motions of class and academia. It was so much more than that for the first time. I was able to make a difference. I was able to have an impact on this great community here. I was going to events and being involved on what makes MSU's culture what it is. So I'm here today to inspire everybody in this room, whether you are a student, staff, faculty, or member of Bozeman, Montana's great community, to engage with this awesome institution and how you can do it. So why? Why do it? Mental health rates amongst college students mental health issues amongst college students have increased since the beginning of the pandemic. And I'm part of that community. As my physical health deteriorated, my mental health deteriorated. And I have really struggled with that since the beginning of the pandemic. And if we engage students, like I found myself becoming engaged and getting involved, I am automatically going to become more aware of new resources on campus. And in turn, have the ability to succeed because I have more outlets to express my true authentic self. And other students from all sorts of different backgrounds have outlets to find their identity. And this is all going to generate a success feedback loop, which looks something like this. Student engagement, starting there, has the opportunity to create a better academic institution, simply by the idea that academic institutions are made up of students. They're made up of faculty, they're made up of staff. They're not an executive board, it's a community. And these better academic environments are going to create better societies simply by the idea that the students that leave these institutions are better grounded in themselves and their identity. They're more capable of presenting ideas and unique perspectives because they feel confident enough to do so. They gained those skills in academia by engaging in clubs, groups, organizations that helped them feel that way. So let's talk a little bit about the current state of academia. This is the increase of anxiety symptoms reported by college students in the last decade. This is a 29% increase. Why? What's causing this increase? Part of it's the pandemic. And there was a research study done that surveyed about 90,000 college students during the pandemic, and 41% of those students reported symptoms of anxiety during this time. I'm part of that community. And most of these papers talked about using therapies and medications as a way to take a step forward. I also am one of those people who is medicated for anxiety, but I did something else in addition to that helped me get here today. I engaged with my college campus. I found outlets to express myself, and I found ways for me to make a difference and an impact on campus. So why should institutions care about this? Why should universities invest? Graduation rates. And when we look at this, what I want to talk about more is how engagement can, in turn, connect students to resources that will help them graduate at a quicker rate. So this data is data analyzed by the Higher Education Research Institute at UCLA, and this data is pulled from the National Student Clearinghouse Organization, which gets data submitted to it by over 3,700 different college institutions across the United States. And that data is graduation rates and also enrollment rates and degree progress. And so when UCLA is able to analyze this, they looked at the 4-year completion rate for students of different demographics. So for students like myself, that rate was 42.6%. 42.6% of students that look like me got a degree in 4 years. That's less than half. And for minority groups, that percentage is even lower. Now, when we look at first-generation students versus students that have one or more parents that have gone through college, those numbers are even lower. And this is for 6 years, not 4. So to me, that presents an idea of engagement and knowledge of resources. If you're a first-year student, you're already at a disadvantage for what resources are on campus because you don't have any family members that could maybe bring up ideas. You have to work even harder to talk to a professor and to find out about clubs and to find out about outlets, to find out about where the tutors are or what the library has to offer. So I'm here to propose to academic institutions that they should invest in student engagement to help increase their graduation rates that they can report. And all of this comes back to that success feedback loop. So how do you do it? I want to propose some options for you to walk out of this room today and engage with the Bozeman, Montana community and MSU as a whole. So whether you're a student or a faculty member, you can join a club or advise a club and give students of a unique group and a unique demographic or culture to express themselves. Maybe you can go to a sporting event. I know there was just a football game yesterday, and that's a great way for the MSU community and surrounding areas to feel like they're a part of this institution. Maybe you can email a professor for the first time. I know that was something really hard for me when I came to college. Mostly because, once again, I felt like I was just paying to use a facility, forgetting that these professors, these teachers, they were just like me at one point. And they are part of what influences the culture here at MSU. We have countless different departments here at MSU, many of which have social media pages that actively share events that they're doing on campus. We are starting to get back to that now since the beginning of the pandemic, where we have events like this one today, where students can come and engage and feel like they're able to make a difference or able to make change, or just meet new people. Or you could do what I did, and you can get a job here on campus. And when I did that, I got asked questions and had people come see me with problems or things that I had never even thought about as a student, which gave me the opportunities to go then do research. I didn't have to come up with the questions, I just had to go find the answers. So why or how can institutions facilitate this? And I'd like to preface this with, this is not that important. Once again, getting back to the idea that universities are not just an executive board, they're a culture that's built by students and faculty. So they're only as great as those people. They're only as great as the ones who choose to walk out of this room and found a new club. And the events that we put on these campuses, they have to target specific groups or target the culture on campus. If it's something that nobody's going to be interested in, then there's not going to be a turnout for that. We have to put things on and we have to give resources to students that are actually going to be utilized, that there's a demand for. Because if there's a demand, there will be turnout. There are students on campus that need those resources. So whether this comes from resident advisors reaching out to their residents in a different way, or finding out things that they're interested in and pointing them in the right direction of, hey, you like doing this? There's a club that does that. Or whether it's professors reaching out to students about their research that they do and telling them, I'm looking for students to help me in my lab. And that gives you an opportunity to engage with the university in a way you haven't before. I hope that my story today has given you the opportunity to feel inspired and know that failure is not the end, but that it's a really great beginning. If I hadn't struggled in the way that I did my first year of college, I would not be here today. I would have just gone through the motions and continued to do classes and go to labs and go to the library. But now I do so much more than that. I get to come here and speak to all of you today about engaging on campus and going to events, and why it made such a big difference in my own success as a college student and my own academics, and why it can for so many others. So whether you're a staff, student, or a member of the community, find a way today, tomorrow, the next day, to engage with somebody, meet somebody new, connect people to resources, and give them the greatest opportunity to succeed here at MSU. Thank you so much.